At a prestigious bank in downtown Chicago, James Anderson quietly stepped up to the teller's counter early one crisp morning, dressed simply in a light blue shirt, khaki pants, and sneakers. James wasn't just any customer, he was the CEO and founder of this very bank. Yet as he handed over his ID to request a routine withdrawal of $15,000, he was met with cold dismissal. The teller, Karen Mitchell, barely glanced at his ID and immediately refused his request, citing vague security protocols. This was especially striking since moments earlier a white customer had easily withdrawn $20,000 in cash without a single question. James maintained his calm as he watched the subtle but unmistakable prejudice unfold. When Karen called her manager Linda Reynolds to back her up, the atmosphere thickened with silent bias. Linda coldly demanded extra proof of James's income, ignoring the account information right in front of her. The tension escalated until security was called. Officer Blake Williams, a tall white man with a stern demeanor, approached James with the clear intention of removing him from the bank. Despite James's calm explanation and proof of identity, he was treated like an intruder and forcibly escorted out, his ID tossed carelessly onto the floor. But the story didn't end there. Marcus's trusted colleague, security guard David Johnson, stepped forward quietly to return James's ID with respectful care and whispered words of solidarity. James then called upon Robert Carter, a senior executive who arrived swiftly and decisively. Robert confronted the staff, fired Linda on the spot, promoted David, and demanded mandatory bias training for everyone involved. Finally, James's withdrawal was processed without question. This powerful moment exposed how deep-rooted racial profiling can be even in places built by those it targets, and how standing up to injustice is essential no matter where it happens. On a busy morning at a bustling Chicago bank, David Marshall walked through the glass doors of the Marshall Financial Branch, a bank he had built from the ground up. Dressed casually in a light blue button-down shirt, khaki pants, and clean sneakers, David was far from the image of a high-powered CEO. He blended effortlessly with the crowd, carrying out what should have been a simple task, withdrawing $15,000 from his personal account. But what happened next shocked him and revealed a painful truth about prejudice hiding in plain sight. David noticed a white man at the counter just moments before withdrawing $20,000 in cash without a hint of scrutiny or suspicion. The teller, Susan Evans, smiled warmly and processed the transaction with ease. When David approached, however, Susan's attitude shifted dramatically. She handed him a clipboard with a withdrawal slip but said nothing else. No greeting, no warmth. After David filled out the form and presented his ID, she didn't even look at it. Instead, she abruptly refused his withdrawal, citing vague security protocols for large cash transactions. David pointed out the earlier transaction, asking why he was being treated differently. Susan avoided eye contact and glanced toward her manager, Cynthia Hayes, who watched from her office with a cold, calculating gaze. Cynthia soon emerged, confirming that additional verification was required before David's withdrawal could proceed. Despite David providing all necessary account information, Cynthia insisted on verifying the source of his funds and details about his last deposit, a demand never made of the white customer. When David called out this obvious double standard, accusing them of racial profiling, tension filled the room. Other customers shifted uncomfortably, some wanting to speak up but holding back. As the confrontation escalated, security was called. Officer Mark Taylor, a broad-shouldered white man, approached with an air of authority, ready to escort David out. Despite his calm and cooperative demeanor, David was treated like an intruder in the very bank he had created. His ID was even tossed on the floor, a symbolic act of disrespect. Just as David faced removal, another security guard, Jamal Lewis, stepped forward quietly and returned David's ID with respect. Jamal's words echoed years of silent endurance. "Doesn't matter how qualified you are, they don't want us here." Refusing to accept this injustice, David called Robert Collins, a senior executive who arrived swiftly. Robert confronted the staff, fired Cynthia on the spot, promoted Jamal, and ordered mandatory bias training for all involved. David finally completed his withdrawal. This incident laid bare the silent, systemic prejudice that persists even in places people have built themselves, and showed the power of standing up for one's rights with dignity and strength. In a quiet neighborhood park in Atlanta, 14-year-old Elijah Thompson was sitting on a bench, deeply engrossed in a book. The afternoon sun cast warm light over the peaceful scene, but that calm was about to be shattered by an unexpected and uncomfortable confrontation. A white woman nearby, Margaret Wilson, watched Elijah with suspicion. Without any real cause, she accused him of loitering and called the police. When officers arrived, Elijah was questioned aggressively, treated like a troublemaker despite having done nothing wrong. The tension in the air was palpable, and many passers-by felt uneasy but hesitated to intervene. The situation escalated quickly until Elijah's mother, Monica Thompson, arrived. Monica wasn't just any parent, she was the mayor of the city, a respected leader known for her dedication to justice and equality. Her presence immediately changed the dynamic. She confronted the police officers and Margaret, demanding accountability for the racial profiling and unjust treatment her son had endured. Monica was clear that no one, regardless of race or age, should be subjected to such suspicion without cause. Monica's intervention sparked a larger conversation within the community about bias policing and the importance of respect for all citizens. She insisted on anti-bias training for the police force and worked tirelessly to ensure that officers understood how harmful assumptions could damage trust and safety in neighborhoods. Margaret, initially defensive, eventually apologized and committed herself to community service and education about racial equity. The story didn't end with the incident but marked a turning point for the city. Monica pushed for systemic reforms to address discrimination and foster dialogue between law enforcement and the community. Elijah's experience became a catalyst for change, highlighting the urgent need to confront racial bias openly and constructively. The community began to embrace programs promoting understanding and respect, hoping to build a future where no child would be unfairly targeted. This powerful episode shows the strength of a mother's love combined with leadership courage, transforming pain into progress. It reminds us all of the ongoing fight against prejudice and the importance of standing up for fairness. Through Monica's efforts, Atlanta took a hopeful step toward becoming a more just and compassionate place for everyone. In a quiet neighborhood in Atlanta, a heartfelt story unfolded that revealed the deep struggles and ultimate triumph of a single mother named Angela Davis. Angela was trying her best to provide for her two young children, juggling work and family with limited resources. One day, while visiting a local car dealership to inquire about financing a reliable vehicle, Angela and her children faced shocking discrimination. The dealership staff, without cause, treated them coldly and eventually asked them to leave, making Angela feel unwelcome and powerless. The situation seemed hopeless as her dignity was dismissed simply because of her appearance and background. But Angela was not alone. Her son Jason, a determined young man with a keen sense of justice, refused to let his mother's mistreatment go unanswered. With courage and resourcefulness, he made a call that would change their lives forever. Jason reached out to the city's mayor, a trusted leader named Evelyn Harris, who had a reputation for fighting injustice and standing up for the community's most vulnerable. Mayor Harris immediately took action, using her influence to investigate the incident and hold the car dealership accountable for their discriminatory behavior. Thanks to Mayor Harris's swift intervention, the dealership faced serious consequences. The management issued a formal apology to Angela and her family, and the company was required to provide anti-discrimination training for all employees. More importantly, Angela was offered assistance to secure financing and access to a vehicle, helping her regain independence and stability. The story quickly spread throughout the community, inspiring others to speak out against unfair treatment and reminding everyone that standing up for what is right can lead to real change. Angela's experience highlights the ongoing challenges many single parents face, particularly when confronted with prejudice based on race or socioeconomic status. Yet it also shows the power of perseverance and the importance of allies in positions of authority who listen and act. Jason's determination and Mayor Harris's commitment created a ripple effect, empowering the community to demand respect and equality for all its members. This story is a testament to the fact that justice is possible when we come together, support each other, and refuse to accept discrimination. It encourages us all, especially those watching, to be vigilant and courageous in confronting injustice, no matter how small the situation may seem. Through unity and action, communities can become safer, fairer, and more compassionate places for future generations. In the bustling city of Seattle, a powerful and moving story unfolded involving Clara Johnson, a devoted housekeeper who had worked quietly and diligently for years in the home of a wealthy white businessman named Richard Caldwell. Clara was more than just an employee. She was part of the household, trusted and respected by many, but that trust was suddenly shattered when Richard, without evidence, accused Clara of theft. The accusation was not only false, but also deeply humiliating, casting a shadow of suspicion on a woman who had dedicated her life to serving others with honesty and integrity. The moment Clara heard the accusation, she was shocked and heartbroken. Despite her clear record and years of loyalty, she was treated with suspicion and coldness. Richard's accusation sparked whispers among the household staff and friends, spreading doubt and mistrust where none should have existed. Clara's dignity was under assault, but she refused to be silenced or defeated. She knew the truth was on her side. In a twist of fate, Clara's son James, who was a respected attorney with strong ties in the community, stepped in. Upon hearing about his mother's plight, James took immediate action to defend her honor. Using his legal expertise and connections, he launched a thorough investigation into the matter. The truth soon emerged. Clara had not stolen anything. In fact, evidence showed that the real culprit was someone else entirely, someone closer to Richard's circle. With the truth revealed, Richard Caldwell was forced to publicly retract his accusation. The ordeal, however, had already taken a toll on Clara. Yet thanks to James's unwavering support and the community rallying behind her, Clara regained her reputation and her dignity. The story spread widely, becoming a beacon of hope and a call for fairness, reminding everyone that assumptions based on race or social status can cause tremendous harm, and that justice requires courage and persistence. Moreover, the incident led to important conversations about workplace respect, racial bias, and the value of every individual's character beyond their social role. Clara's case became a catalyst for change, inspiring local organizations to advocate for fair treatment of domestic workers and to offer legal support to those wrongfully accused. It showed that even in situations filled with injustice, family truth and determination can prevail. For older viewers, Clara's story is a poignant reminder of the strength found in family bonds and the importance of standing up against injustice, no matter one's position in life. It encourages us to listen carefully before judging others and to support those who face unfair treatment. Clara's journey is a testament to resilience, dignity, and the enduring power of truth. In a quiet neighborhood in Atlanta, the story of single mother Angela Thompson and her son Marcus took a dramatic turn when they faced mistreatment from local police officers. Angela, a hardworking woman raising her family alone, was no stranger to challenges, but the day the police confronted her at home was unlike any other. The officers, suspicious without cause, treated Angela and Marcus with disrespect and hostility. Despite Angela's calm and cooperative demeanor, the situation escalated as the officers ignored her rights and acted with unwarranted aggression. Marcus, watching his mother endure this unjust treatment, felt a deep sense of frustration and helplessness. But Marcus was determined not to let the injustice go unanswered. Using his resourcefulness, he made a call to the mayor's office, a move that changed everything. The mayor, Rebecca Dawson, a strong and compassionate leader well known for her commitment to justice and equality, took the matter seriously. Upon hearing Marcus's call, she immediately intervened, ordering an independent review of the police conduct. Her swift response sent a clear message that abuse of power would not be tolerated in her city. The investigation revealed a troubling pattern of racial bias and misconduct within the police department. The officers involved had prior complaints, and the mayor ensured they were held accountable. More importantly, Rebecca Dawson pushed for reforms mandating anti-bias training for all officers and establishing new protocols to protect the rights of citizens, especially vulnerable individuals like Angela and Marcus. The mayor's involvement not only brought justice to the Thompsons, but also sparked a wider community conversation about policing respect and fairness. For the older generation, Angela and Marcus's story serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of standing up against injustice and the impact that speaking out can have. It shows that even in moments of vulnerability, strength can be found through courage and advocacy. The story also highlights the vital role leaders play in protecting their communities and fostering an environment where everyone is treated with dignity and respect regardless of race or background. Ultimately, this story is one of hope and change, a testament to the fact that when people unite and demand accountability, justice can prevail, making the community safer and fairer for generations to come. In a sunny suburban playground in Dallas, a young black boy named Elijah Harris was simply enjoying his afternoon when an unexpected incident unfolded that would change his and his family's lives forever. While playing near the swings, a woman named Karen Mitchell approached Elijah and suddenly slapped him without warning. Shocked and confused, Elijah froze, not understanding why he was being treated so harshly. What Karen didn't know was that Elijah's father, David Harris, was a federal law enforcement agent with a long record of service and respect. When David arrived at the scene, he quickly took control, demanding an explanation for the woman's actions. Karen's attitude shifted instantly as she realized whom she was confronting. David's presence brought an immediate seriousness to the situation, and he made it clear that no one could mistreat his son with impunity.
This incident exposed a harsh truth about prejudice that still lingers in many communities, how quickly assumptions and biases can lead to injustice and harm, even in places where children should feel safe. Elijah's experience became a powerful catalyst for dialogue within the neighborhood. David, using his position and voice, worked with community leaders to promote awareness about racial respect and the importance of treating every child with kindness and dignity. The story resonated deeply with older adults, reminding them of the ongoing struggles for equality that previous generations fought so hard to achieve. It also highlighted how important it is for families to protect and support each other in the face of unfair treatment. Through this challenging moment, Elijah and his family demonstrated resilience and strength. David's calm but firm response underscored the power of standing up for what is right regardless of intimidation or fear. It also showed the impact that a committed parent can have in teaching younger generations about dignity, justice, and the value of respect. For viewers over 65, this story is a poignant reminder that progress requires vigilance and action from all of us, especially elders who hold wisdom and influence in their communities. It encourages ongoing conversations about race, empathy, and justice, ensuring that the future is safer and more just for every child. In the quiet neighborhood of Cedarwood, 14-year-old Jamal Thompson was enjoying a peaceful afternoon at the local park, reading a book under a large oak tree. Suddenly, a woman named Helen Richards approached him with suspicion and discomfort, accusing Jamal of loitering without any real reason. Despite Jamal's polite and calm responses, the police were called and he was questioned aggressively by officers who seemed to treat him unfairly from the start. This moment of unjust suspicion wasn't just a one-time event, it reflected a deeper issue that many black youths face every day in communities across America. The situation took a turn when Jamal's mother, Gloria Thompson, who also happens to be the mayor of Cedarwood, arrived at the scene. Gloria confronted both the officers and Helen with dignity and authority, demanding that her son be treated fairly and respectfully. Her presence changed the dynamic immediately. She insisted on accountability and called for anti-bias training for the local police force, determined to ensure that no other child would have to face such unfounded accusations. The incident sparked an important conversation in the town about systemic bias and the need for change. Gloria's leadership inspired community members to come together and advocate for better understanding and respect among residents and law enforcement alike. It also reminded the older generation of the ongoing struggle for racial equality, something they had witnessed or participated in during their youth, and encouraged them to stay engaged and active in supporting justice for younger generations. Jamal's experience is a powerful example of resilience and family strength. With his mother's unwavering support, he was not only defended, but also became a symbol of hope and progress for his community. This story shows how important it is for parents and leaders to stand firm against prejudice and to work toward a future where every child is judged by their character, not by outdated stereotypes. For seniors and elders, watching this story serves as a call to action and reflection, reminding us all that change is possible when we unite, speak out, and protect the values of fairness and dignity for all members of our society. At the Bennett Financial Branch in downtown Chicago, a routine morning quickly turned into a powerful lesson on prejudice and resilience. James Holloway, the bank's founder and CEO, entered the sleek, sunlit lobby dressed simply in a light blue button-down shirt, khaki pants, and sneakers. He wasn't there for a high-profile meeting or a business deal, but for an ordinary personal transaction, a withdrawal of $15,000. To any customer, this should have been straightforward. But as James approached the teller counter, he was met with cold dismissal. Amy Williams, a teller with a stiff demeanor, pushed his ID aside and handed him a clipboard with a curt command to fill out a form. No greeting, no acknowledgement. This stood in stark contrast to a white customer moments earlier, who effortlessly withdrew $20,000 without so much as a raised eyebrow from the staff. James's calm demeanor masked the frustration he felt all too often, an invisible barrier erected not by his qualifications or character, but by the color of his skin. Despite complying promptly with the paperwork, the teller, bolstered by the watchful manager, Victoria Shaw, refused to process the withdrawal. "It's suspicious," Amy said, her voice artificially sweet but heavy with underlying bias. When James pointed out the double standard, the response was vague, evasive, and condescending. The bank's security protocols were selectively enforced, and the weight of unspoken prejudice hung thick in the air. As tensions escalated, security was summoned. Ethan Morris, a tall, imposing guard, approached James with the expectation that he would leave quietly. Instead, James pulled out his phone and began recording. The act of speaking up shifted the dynamic, exposing the bank's discriminatory practices. Yet despite the evidence and his calm resolve, James was forcibly removed, his ID carelessly discarded on the floor. It was a humiliating scene, a black man, the very founder of the bank, treated as an outsider and a threat within his own institution. However, this was only the beginning. James called David Lawson a senior executive known for integrity and decisive leadership. Within minutes, Lawson arrived, cutting through the tension like a knife. His presence brought immediate authority. Facing the staff responsible, Lawson's voice was steady but commanding, questioning their decisions and calling out blatant racial profiling. Victoria's composure cracked and Amy was left speechless. Lawson didn't hesitate to fire the manager on the spot and ordered mandatory bias training for everyone involved, including security. Jamal Reed, the black security guard who quietly supported James during the ordeal, was promoted, recognizing his dignity and resilience. James reclaimed his rightful place at the counter, the transaction processed without objection. This incident wasn't just about money or a withdrawal. It was a stark reminder of how systemic bias still permeates even the places we build and trust. It was a call for accountability, respect, and change, a story of courage that shows how standing firm against injustice can lead to meaningful progress. At a small gas station in rural Arkansas, an unexpected and troubling incident unfolded involving General Elisha Thompson, a highly respected four-star general in the U.S. Army. Off-duty and dressed in civilian clothes, General Thompson stopped to make a phone call. Unbeknownst to her, the gas station clerk grew suspicious of her presence and called the local police. Moments later, 2 officers arrived and, without verifying her identity or military credentials, handcuffed her abruptly. Despite her calm and professional explanations, the officers treated her with hostility and disrespect. What the officers failed to realize was that General Thompson was conducting a classified call to the Pentagon. At the time, her secure military phone line remained active during the entire encounter, alerting military command to the situation. The military police arrived quickly, ordered the local officers to stand down, and took control of the incident. The general's detention, captured on video by bystanders, sparked widespread public outrage and a call for accountability. Investigations revealed that the 2 officers had prior complaints for misconduct, underscoring systemic issues within law enforcement regarding racial profiling and abuse of authority. General Thompson, known for her dignified service and leadership, addressed the public with a powerful message demanding respect for all service members regardless of race or rank. She emphasized the ongoing struggle against systemic racism and the importance of upholding dignity and justice in every interaction. This incident not only highlighted the racial biases still present in some law enforcement practices, but also underscored the resilience and strength of individuals who refuse to be diminished or silenced. General Thompson's experience served as a stark reminder that respect and fairness must be earned through accountability and systemic change. Her courage in standing up against injustice continues to inspire efforts toward equity within both the military and civilian institutions. In a time when calls for racial justice echo louder than ever, this story resonates deeply, especially with older audiences who have witnessed the long arc of civil rights struggles. It challenges us all to recognize and confront prejudice wherever it appears, and to support leaders who strive for a more just and respectful society. In a quiet afternoon at Riverside Park in Atlanta, 14-year-old Elijah Carter was peacefully reading a book when an incident unfolded that would reveal the harsh realities of racial bias. Margaret Collins, a white woman nearby, suspiciously accused Elijah of loitering and quickly called the police. When the officers arrived, they questioned Elijah aggressively despite no evidence that he was doing anything wrong. The young boy's calm demeanor was met with unnecessary hostility and suspicion. The situation escalated until Elijah's mother, Monica Carter, the mayor of Atlanta, arrived on the scene. Monica's presence instantly changed the dynamics. She confronted the officers, and Margaret demanding accountability and a halt to racial profiling. Recognizing the systemic issues at play, Monica insisted on anti-bias training for the police department, making it clear that such behavior would no longer be tolerated. Margaret, faced with the mayor's firm stance, apologized and agreed to participate in community programs aimed at fostering understanding and reconciliation. The incident sparked wider discussions about racial profiling and systemic bias in law enforcement and the community. Thanks to Monica's leadership and determination, the police force committed to implementing meaningful reforms and community education initiatives were launched to bridge divides and build trust. This powerful story highlights how one mother's courage and position can challenge injustice and initiate positive change. It also serves as a reminder of the importance of vigilance, empathy, and leadership in confronting systemic racism. For older audiences, many of whom have witnessed decades of civil rights struggles, Elijah and Monica's story is a hopeful chapter, a sign that change is possible when communities come together to demand fairness and respect for all. Camden Ross, a successful Black CEO of Sentinel Corp, a cybersecurity firm, found himself in the spotlight during a live TV interview meant to highlight diversity and success in tech. The host Julia Mitchell approached Camden's story with skepticism, questioning whether his achievements were truly based on merit or influenced by diversity initiatives. Camden faced these loaded questions calmly but firmly, using the opportunity to expose the systemic barriers Black entrepreneurs often encounter. He shared how, despite his company winning a $180 million federal defense contract, his journey was riddled with challenges, lack of funding, limited access to networks, and constant doubts cast on his abilities. Camden's responses cut through the host's insinuations, pointing out that merit alone is not enough when structural biases block equal opportunities. As his words spread quickly online, reactions were mixed. Some praised his courage and clarity, while others criticized or questioned his narrative. Despite facing backlash and even losing some sponsors, Camden remained undeterred. He recognized the power of his platform to speak truth and inspire change, choosing to embrace controversy rather than shy away. To further his mission, Camden planned a televised special where he could fully control the message and delve deeper into the realities of racial inequality in business. His story is a powerful example of resilience and leadership, reminding audiences, especially older viewers, familiar with civil rights struggles, that success against systemic odds requires more than talent. It demands perseverance, courage, and the willingness to challenge entrenched injustice. Camden Ross's experience is not just a personal triumph, but a call to action for society to recognize and dismantle the barriers that still limit equal opportunity in America today. At the Bennett Financial branch in Chicago, a tense and unjust situation unfolded when Marcus Harris, the bank's own CEO, was wrongfully denied service during a routine cash withdrawal. Despite being the founder and leader of the institution, Marcus was. However, the story took a decisive turn when Marcus reached out to David Monroe, a senior executive known for fairness and decisive action. Monroe arrived swiftly, bringing a commanding presence that immediately shifted the atmosphere. Confronting the staff responsible, he exposed the racial bias and improper handling of Marcus's withdrawal request. Monroe's firm stance led to the immediate Following Monroe's intervention, Marcus's right to access his own funds was fully restored without further obstruction. The teller who had initially refused his withdrawal stepped aside, and the transaction was processed smoothly and respectfully. Marcus received the crisp stacks of cash he requested, symbolizing not just the retrieval of his money, but the restoration of his dignity and rightful place within the bank he built. This incident revealed the deep-rooted prejudices that, at the heart of downtown Chicago, a routine day at the Bennett Financial branch took a shocking turn when Marcus Hayes, the bank's own CEO, was refused service during a simple cash withdrawal. Dressed modestly in a light blue shirt and khaki pants, Marcus approached the teller with calm confidence, expecting nothing more than a straightforward transaction. Yet he was met with cold dismissal from Amy Collins, a teller who curtly handed him a form and refused to look at his ID, citing security protocols as the reason for denying his $15,000 withdrawal. What Marcus witnessed moments before fueled his frustration. A white customer easily withdrew $20,000 without any questions. Despite his compliance and providing all necessary information, the bank's manager, Victoria Reynolds, backed the teller's refusal, reinforcing an invisible line drawn by racial bias. Marcus's quiet patience masked years of encountering such discrimination even within the very institution he founded. When tensions escalated, security was called. Ethan Miller, a tall and stern guard, approached Marcus with the expectation that he would leave quietly. But Marcus, determined to stand his ground, pulled out his phone and began recording the encounter. The recording exposed the bank's unjust treatment and refusal to honor his rights. Despite this, Marcus was forcibly removed, his identification carelessly tossed to the floor, a humiliating moment that underscored the deep-seated prejudice he faced. The situation changed dramatically when David Carter, a senior executive known for integrity, was summoned. Arriving within minutes, Carter's presence brought authority and clarity. He immediately confronted the staff, demanding accountability for their actions. The bank manager was fired on the spot, and mandatory bias training was ordered for all employees involved, including security. Meanwhile, Jamal Brooks, the black security guard who had silently supported Marcus, was promoted, symbolizing recognition of dignity and fairness. With the injustice addressed, Marcus's withdrawal was promptly processed, restoring not only his access to his money, but his rightful respect within the bank. This incident highlighted the ongoing struggle against systemic bias, but also demonstrated how leadership and courage can challenge and change unfair systems. At the Bennett Financial Branch in Chicago, Marcus Hayes, the CEO and founder of the bank, faced a shocking injustice. While trying to withdraw $15,000 from his own personal account, Marcus was met with suspicion and outright denial by bank staff. Unlike a white customer who had just withdrawn $20,000 without question, Marcus was asked to fill out forms and subjected to invasive scrutiny. The teller, Amy Collins, backed by manager Victoria Reynolds, refused his withdrawal, citing vague security protocols that seemed selectively applied. The situation escalated when security was called and Marcus was forcibly removed, his ID thrown to the floor, an act of blatant disrespect and racial profiling. But Marcus refused to accept this humiliation. Pulling out his phone, he recorded the incident, exposing the bias he faced in the place he built. Within minutes, David Carter, a senior executive, arrived to confront the staff. Victoria was fired on the spot, and mandatory bias training was ordered for everyone involved. Marcus's dignity was restored, and Jamal Brooks, a black security guard who quietly supported Marcus, was promoted. The bank processed Marcus's withdrawal without further delay. This story is not just about money or status, it's a powerful reminder that standing firm against injustice is essential. Even in spaces we build ourselves, prejudice can persist, but courage, integrity, and leadership can create real change. Life lesson. True strength lies in standing up calmly and firmly for your rights even when the odds seem against you. Marcus's story shows us that courage and resilience can break down barriers of prejudice and injustice. It reminds us that no matter how many times we face discrimination, persistence and speaking out can pave the way for progress, not just for ourselves, but for the whole community. If this story moved you, please share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to join us for more inspiring stories that teach us about justice, dignity, and hope every day.